Hey guys, so finally the news cycle has kicked into gear and we have got a new PTR patch. This is the patch 6.1 information, and in this video I'm just going to go through the stuff that we have found out via data mining. Now the actual PTR servers are not up, so I'm not able to go in and collect live footage and actually see what's going on. This is relying solely off data mined information that comes via the excellent people at WoWHead and MMO-Champion. I would try to data mine things, but I've got absolutely no idea how. Anyway, you can hop along the various topics that you can see in the on-screen menu, and beware that there will be slight spoilers in the legendary section. So let's just get right into what's going on here. Now, according to MMO-Champion, the quests are going to be taking place in the Iron Docks, or at least some quests are. This is sort of odd to me since we've already been there, but we don't have specifics, and we don't actually know 100% what the main thing of this patch is. You know the way, say, patch 5.1 had Lion's Landing, patch 5.3 had all the Rebellion stuff. We don't really know what the equivalent is for here. It seems to be, at least right now, a mix of smaller things. Certainly, though, I'm very excited. So let's jump into the Garrison stuff, and loads of new Garrison things have been added. Now, we don't know 100% what is going on in terms of the system that they talked about, where you can pick up quests from both your own Garrison and other people's Garrisons. But what we do know is they are adding in Relic Hunter quests, which you get via Harrison Jones, and if you complete all of them, you will get him as a follower. He is a scavenger, and he also has a new trait called Mentor, which will grant his combat effectiveness to accompanying followers, which is going to be very handy for leveling up some followers. Now, he also has an ability called Explorer Extraordinaire, which counters danger zones, so he seems kind of rudimentary, but he'll be very good for getting Garrison resources and training up new followers, so it seems kinda handy. Now, the next system sounds really cool. Basically, you'll be able to summon a 10 to 40 player boss inside your Garrison. Now, I wonder if the actual fight takes place in your Garrison or somewhere else, but anyway, this does sound like a really cool idea. I sort of remember talking about a similar system a while back, which was basically a weekly Coliseum that had a different, scaled-up old boss in it each week. I suppose this scratches the same itch, and I definitely hope they make it properly hard and not a Zerg like the current world bosses that we have. Also, Garrison invasions are going to see some love, and you can now get up to a platinum reward. This sounds cool in theory, but I do want to know more. Having a tier above gold in terms of speed doesn't interest me in the slightest, because it's just a race to cut down the cannon fodder that they throw at you even more quickly. What I want is more difficulty, harder mini-bosses, more mechanics, things that actually matter, basically a heroic mode. They did say they would be thinking about introducing difficulty into invasions with 6.1, so hopefully that does end up happening. Now prepare yourself for a cuteness overload with this next bit of information. So there's going to be a new achievement for defeating every single Warlords of Draenor boss up to the end of Blackrock Foundry while wearing Pepe, which basically is awesome, and it will reward you with the Transdimensional Bird Whistle item, which will summon Pepe anywhere that you are. So that's great, and let's move on to a new thing they've added, which is the Scouting Report item. There is a Scouting Report item in the files, the actual game files, for each zone, and then one which is just a general Scouting Report. I've got no idea where you get these from, but it seems like when you click on them, a random mission is generated. So I'm going to assume if you clicked on the Nagrand one, then you'd maybe get a Nagrand mission for your followers, or something like that. Hard to know exactly. Now next, this is one that really does excite me. There's a new music system. Your Garrison will have a jukebox that you can collect music for. So far, I've seen 3 music roll items in the data mined information. There's one called Legends of Azeroth, which is the original World of Warcraft theme. There's one called the Burning Legion, and then there's one called Wrath of the Lich King. I'm going to assume that these will just play various tracks from those expansions in your Garrison. This really does make me happy, though. As much as I do like the newer music, I think there is a certain ambience that's been lost with the newer music. It's more punchy, it sounds more of a thing that you'd listen to on your iPod just as a standalone piece of music, rather than a truly just relaxing ambient piece of music. So I really do like that for the Garrison. And really that ambience point is why I use a lot of older music in my videos. I just think it's better designed to be in the background, kind of. Now they've also added some new Blackrock Foundry missions which will give you a base level of 665 gear, and then of course if you raid higher difficulties you will get even better gear. There are also some new items called work order rushes, which will instantly complete 5 work orders for a building. That's really awesome. Now there's also some new mission rewards. The Sun-Touched Feather of Rookmar will give a follower epic speed, which I'm just assuming is epic mount, and there's also the Tomb of Knowledge, which will give a follower some experience, which is also really nice. Now there's also a new mission that will reward a Seal of Tempered Fate, and there are 2 new items coming called the Follower Trait Retraining and the Follower Ability Retraining. They don't really sound like good item names. We'll see what they actually end up calling them finally, but these items will allow you to re-roll the traits and abilities of a follower independent of each other, which is quite handy because there's times where you've got a follower that's got perfect abilities and crap traits, so you want to re-roll the traits, but of course you don't want to risk rolling all of them. Now next, let's just quickly touch on the notion of flying. So, as I covered yesterday, flight points are being improved, but today we found out that you will be able to cancel mid-journey and land at the next point in your route, which is just a nice little quality of life increase. As far as gear goes, we probably don't know the full picture at the minute, however it looks like they're adding in Replica, aka Transmog, Knight Lieutenant stuff, so essentially the blue vanilla PvP gear, the max level PvP vanilla stuff, is being added for transmog purposes. That's really cool, and they are also adding a new tier of Apexis gear, which is item level 670, so worry not, you can just continue to grind even more Apexis crystals again and again and again forever. On top of that, they have also added a whole bunch of masks, and this is one thing that I've seen which is kind of interesting in the game files. We don't know what they look like. There's the Rakish Orange mask, the Sinister Rogue mask, the Glamorous Purple mask, Immaculate White mask, there's a green one, a black one, and then also a Crimson and Gold one, which I'm going to assume looks really cool and Blood Elvy. So that's really what's going on with gear. I'm sure we'll have more information though as time goes on. Also, heirlooms have popped up in the game files, basically the splash screen for the patch, you know, the little thing that pops up and tells you what's new. That has got the heirloom tab on it, which is pretty awesome, and I'm just going to assume it's the heirloom tab that they have previously talked about where you unlock heirlooms cross-account. But they have also added some items that will allow you to upgrade heirlooms to level 90 and 100. The way that they are doing heirlooms, I'm pretty sure, is that you can get some sort of token which you can use to unlock the base level 60 version, and then you can upgrade your heirlooms you know, higher and higher, to the point where you can heirloom a character all the way up to level 100, which is something that I am very, very happy with. Even though the Warlords of Draenor zones are awesome, you know, sometimes on a subsequent character, it would be nice just to skip through them real quick with heirlooms and other various XP things. Next, let's talk about mounts, and things get really bizarre and sort of interesting here. So the chauffeured Mechano-Hog and Chopper have been added to the game files, and this sounds really interesting. Essentially, it summons a mount and a driver, and it seems like that can basically just drive you somewhere. There must be a catch in this though, so we'll have to see how it turns out. Honestly, while it does sound cool on paper, I don't like the idea of the game playing itself too much. Flight points are great in terms of convenience, but they're balanced by the fact that you do have limited flight points. I don't think it would be very good if you could just, you know, be in your garrison, then click in the exact point in the ground you want to go to, and then you just, you know, go away, make a cup of tea, come back, and now your character has just played itself all the way over to Nagrand. That sounds weird. I don't think I like that too much. As much as it might seem like a really good convenience aspect, it might have some sort of more hidden psychological things that diminish from the sense of scale in the world and all those various sort of things. So we'll see how that pans out. I don't know, maybe there'll be a catch to it. We'll just have to see. Now, it also looks like they're adding the Void Talon of the Dark Star to the game, and I'm going to assume this is the purple Alisrazor mount that was datamined ages ago. We don't know though, because of course we don't actually have access to the model yet. Next, let's quickly talk about achievements. So, completing the meta achievements for each zone will give you a treasure map. You can already sort of do that. Basically, if you complete the meta, then the treasure map is purchasable, but it just sounds like the treasure map is plunked into your inventory now, because I suppose not many people actually know about that functionality. And then also, Draenor now has a Lore Master achievement, which is kind of nice. Next, let's quickly talk about pets. So, a bunch of new pets have been added to the Burning Crusade raids. You'll get a mini Naru pet as a meta if you get all of them. The new pets are the Chaos Pup, the Sunblade Micro Defender, Stinkrot, then the Fragment of Desire, Fragment of Suffering, Fragment of Anger, Leviathan Hatchling, Hyjal Wisp, Sister of Temptation, Abesius, something like that, and the Grotesque. Sounds lovely. And along with this, they're also adding a new pet battle stone, which will instantly give you 25 pet battle level thingies, which is awesome. Next, let's move on to Twitter. So Twitter integration is coming, and a whole bunch of datamine strings reference it. It's built into the game client and will allow you to do things like tweets, screenshots, and achievements. Maybe this isn't going to be of interest to everybody, but as a decently frequent user of Twitter, it actually is a nice little thing, and maybe people can just, outdick each other with achievements on Twitter. It'll be great. Plus, it's going to be very handy for Blizzard in terms of pushing their social media presence, because I'm sure there'll be like a default @Warcraft in there, or maybe a hashtag, so they can really help push themselves up the trending lists and various things like that. Next, let's talk about some miscellaneous things. This is really just tying up some of the loose ends. So a bunch of strings reference the Starter Edition accounts, and then also Veteran accounts. But they, according to these strings, have got similar restrictions. I've got no idea what this is, and I've seen loads of speculation on various forums. Some people think that a Veteran account is basically like a regular account that's had its subscription lapse, and I would assume that maybe it could be a system where you could perhaps get a few days of grace time to pop in and just run around and decide if you want to resub or something. Maybe that could be it. Some people have been talking about free-to-play. That's quite obviously not going to happen. I mean, they're adding in the gold game time token trading system with this patch as well. So we'll just have to see what this is, I suppose. Honestly, though, it could be nothing. This is all datamine info, and often things appear in datamine builds that just don't appear in the version that's pushed out to the live game. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now also, in the news of anti-aliasing, they have added MSAA, SSAA, SSAA+, and CMAA. This is really good. Their current AA options are actually terrible. They basically had to remove some ones from the old client when they moved into the Warlords of Draenor client. I heard it was something to do with a deferred rendering engine, but honestly, I just need to learn more about that topic anyway. So we'll just have to see. But it sounds like whatever engineering hurdle they had, they have now surpassed, and we finally will have proper anti-aliasing in the game, because, the jaggy edges in Warlords have been really doing my head in. Also, in the realm of nifty graphics effects, we've got HBAO, which has been added. This is a pretty nice effect, actually, but it's a NVIDIA-only technology. I think anyway, so I don't know if it's going to run off AMD cards or Intel integrated graphics, but as somebody with twin 980s, I am perfectly happy to make use of my shiny NVIDIA tech, so hurrah for HBAO, which basically, by the way, if you're not aware, is a different/better version of SSAO, so that's kind of nice. Also, there's a new UI element that pops up whenever you kill a boss, and they're adding in a death log which shows how you died. I can imagine that being really handy for tanks, because they are often the people who need to analyze what caused the death. Now finally, I'm just going to quickly touch on the legendary quest. I left it to the end, of course, because of spoilers, and just go on to either WoWHead or MMO-Champion if you actually want to read the dialogue, but here's the short of it. Basically, spoiler alert, you free Garona from Gul'dan. It transpires that he has been all inner mind controlling her, so a little bit like how it was in our timeline. And once you free her, she decides to help you out killing Gul'dan and the Shadow Council, and in terms of her actual specs, she has got an epic mount, and she also has 3 abilities, so she'll be an absolute beast. At least that's what the game currently says about her. Now that's really it in terms of the new shinies that we found out from this patch. It's likely not going to be playable over the weekend though on the PTRs, because they didn't hit their deadline when it came to putting a build up and putting online the servers on Friday, so likely on Monday we'll get access to the realms. This is just the datamine info that we've got to work with now. Oh, and there's also 2 new loading screens. I forgot to say that earlier, so yeah. 2 new loading screens. Look at the screen, they'll be all shiny. They're actually very pretty, so that's nice. And hey, it's cool that Lunarfall and Frost Wall, or Frost whatever the hell the Horde one is, are finally getting some loading screens, because we've been looking at those warlords striking their bro pose for quite a while now. Now, one thing that I suppose I should also mention is that a whole bunch of spell changes and things like that have been data mined. However, most of those are just reflecting changes that have already been made. Often when Blizzard hotfixes something, they can change all the server-side numbers and things like that. But when it comes to the actual client stuff and what the tooltips say, they often need to wait for a client patch to fix that stuff up. So many confusing changes might appear here, but in fact, they will have already happened, so it's not like you're being buffed twice or nerfed twice. So that's really it for this video. Let me know what you think about the various things that they're adding so far. I think it's interesting, but there's definitely going to be more as the PTR patches roll out. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you next time.